Welcome to the Real Estate Investor Podcast. I have a special guest today, Kalisha Carter. How's it going?
Good. I'm so excited. Like I saw the countdown. I'm like, yay, we're about to do this.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to have you on here. We met we were in a couple different communities together, and I've been following your journey, and you're just someone I'm super inspired by. And
Aw.
I watch all the moves you're making and the commitment you have in all your businesses and what you're doing. That's what it takes. And I can recognize that.
Mhm.
And so I'd love to give anyone watching this a little background on your story because I know that you've really had to earn it. And I really respect all the effort you've been putting in and all the success you've been having. So I know you're from Jamaica, and tell
Mhm.
me a little bit
Yes.
about the beginning where you started.
Man, it's always, and anytime I get that question, I'm like, I need to figure out how to cram my story in 1 minute because it's so much. But I have a bachelor's degree in marketing. So I did not go to school for real estate investing at all. I don't have anyone in my family that does real estate investing. I literally gave up my secured perfect corporate job in Jamaica and moved to the US to go clean tables, which is wild.
Wow.
Sometimes I was in those positions working in the restaurant industry and I was like, Kalisha, what are you doing? Like, you have your bachelor's degree and you're here cleaning tables, cleaning toilets, serving people. And I'm like, we look down on those type of jobs back home. Here I am in another country doing this type of job. But I think I was at that space in my life where I hated corporate. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do marketing anymore. I was just lost. So I was really just trying to find myself, figure out what is it that I want to do with my life.
Mm.
And I used that time to figure it out until I got to a point where I'm like, what do you want to do, Kalisha? Like you can't keep just figuring it out. And I knew that I love watching HGTV and I also love watching Food Network. I knew I don't want to be a chef because I rather eat the food than cook it. And I was like, okay, I see HGTV. I love doing that. Let me explore this thing called real estate. And I think I just went on Google and I just Googled like how to invest in real estate and Bigger Pockets popped up. From there, I literally just dive right in. I felt so overwhelmed because I'm like, this is a lot of information. Like, what is happening? And then from there, from Bigger Pockets, learning, networking with people, asking people what they're doing, how they got started. That's literally how I got into real estate, just by
Wow.
going on Google.
So you left the corporate job. So you were successful doing that. You're making good money and you just were feeling unfulfilled and had
Yeah.
this, you're like, there's something more for me. And you moved out here by yourself,
Yes.
right? Wow. So a huge leap of faith. You're waitressing and you're making some good money, probably waitressing, but obviously real estate was calling you.
Real estate was calling me because I remember I got to the point where I was like, I had analysis paralysis. I was trying to wait for the perfect deal to be 100% ready. But I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to read books anymore. I don't want to listen to any more podcasts. I just got to go.
Go do
And
it.
yeah, I just had to do it. And bear in mind, this time I was living in Massachusetts and I did out of state investing in Memphis, Tennessee.
Mm.
Initially went in to do the Burr method. And then from there, so much stuff went bad with that first deal, but it worked
Yeah.
out amazing. But the thing is that when I made my first money, like profit from that first deal, I'm like, hold up. If I'm doing this out of state plus having my W-2 where I was working like 80 plus hours a week. I was like, something's got to give. Imagine if I give 100% into real estate, how much more I can perform. And I just decided that, hey, after that year, I was like, I'm just going to quit and I'm going to go all in with real estate because I keep waiting for the perfect time and the perfect time is never going to come.
Right. And it
Yeah.
never does. There never is a perfect time.
No.
Wow. So what a big shift. And did you meet someone who was doing real estate? Like when you were waitressing, did you know that was your plan when you came out here? Or was it something that kind of caught your eye once you moved out here?
Man, like when I started, so before even the waitressing portion of it, I started out like seating people, hostessing, which that was completely new to me because I don't know that back in Jamaica.
Yeah.
But with hostessing, you're the one that's greeting people the moment they come in, you're seating them. So whenever customers are waiting for a table, they'll be like, oh, what do you do? Or are you just here for the summer? So that's how conversation would start.
Hmm.
And when I would tell them where I'm from, and then they're like, what do you want to do after this? And then I was like, I was always lost again. So I just always just say, oh, I want to get into real estate. I just throw that out there. And because I threw that out there, people will start telling me if they are in real estate, what they are doing. The owner of the restaurant as well was also heavily involved in real estate. And he was the one who really broke things down to me. Hey, do you want to get your license? Or if you want to invest, go to this state. And here are some of the benefits of real estate. So then I started learning. And the more I learned, I went back to him and asked questions. I'm like, oh, this could definitely be a thing.
So you had someone influence you a little bit and you already knew that was the path you wanted to go on.
Yeah. What I've learned during that time is that even if you're not 100% sure that's where you want to go get into, just say it, especially if you're still figuring it out, because the more you say it, it's the more you're going to learn from other persons who have been doing it. You're going to meet people who are doing it, who's going to help you to give you clarity to decide, is this something that I want to continue to pursue?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I was
Mhm.
just talking to a friend before this podcast and I was telling him, I was like, unless you're wanting to shift careers, I wouldn't recommend getting into real estate because it takes 150% of your attention and years of commitment to build anything worthwhile. And if you're just going to dabble on the side, you're probably going to have some pretty big
Wow.
failures and losses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
No.
diving all in is the way to do it.
And it's crazy because people ask me when diving in, do I have kids? Are you married? Did you have money saved up? And did you start making money right away? No. I like the money, what I had saved up, I had poured so much of that capital into my education
Hmm.
that I'm like, uh-oh, no income, figure it out. But I was like, you know what? I had to make a decision. Am I gonna learn everything on my own? Or do I want to invest in myself and learn from someone who has already did it, who did it before? So I just pour that money into masterminds and conferences.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, we're in a couple communities together, and I absolutely understand the value. And my mindset has always been it's not really a shortcut, but surrounding yourselves with people doing all the things at high levels who have been doing it 10, 15, 20 years before you.
Right.
That's the best way to learn and be
Yeah.
surrounded by these people. Plus, in the real world, like when I talk to my everyday friends or family, they don't really know anything about real estate. And
No.
even real estate agents really a lot of them aren't even in the investing world. Some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. So
Yeah.
where do you go to learn about all these different strategies? You really have to join meetups and join communities and
Mm.
get out there, collaborate with people.
Yeah. I agree 100%, especially if you're just starting out and you feel completely new. Maybe a networking event could be overwhelming or intimidating. Start off listening to podcasts like these just to hear what are other people doing, because that's how I learned, was listening to podcasts and hearing people sharing their stories, because a lot of things that people share are not in books. When you hear these interviews, now you're like, aha, this makes sense. When you go back and read a book, you're like, oh, I've heard someone mention this a little bit, but they went deeper into it. Definitely listen to podcasts, books, of course, and just talking to people.
And I feel like people in this day and age have a major advantage with YouTube and social media
Yeah.
because people are out there telling you like their secrets that they've spent 2 decades learning and to master their what they're doing in real estate. And you're able to sit down for an hour and a half and hear how they did it and what they did. And that's amazing. I love where we're at in the world in that
No,
sense.
they're so right about that.
So what kind of investing I know you have some short-term rentals. Do you tell me a little
Mhm.
bit about how you got into doing that? And
Pain. But when I started, so I got into fix and flipping by accident.
Mhm.
I had no intention of doing fix and flips. It was always buy and hold is the goal. And I did my first bird deal, and the bird deal turned out to be a fix and flip because I couldn't get a loan to do a refinance because I wasn't a US citizen. So it's a good thing that when my partner at the time, when we bought that property, we were able to underwrite the deal properly. So there was a good enough spread. So we're like,
Mhm.
okay, bam, we have to pivot and turn this burr into a fix and flip. So that worked out. And then we were in the middle of another renovation that should have been a burr method. And we ended up having to sell that. So we got to the point where, okay, there's gonna be an issue for you to get a loan, Kalisha, and we're gonna need money. So we got to figure out where can we invest that has that consistent, like super high monthly income. And that's where we found out about short-term rentals, like the vacation rental market. At the time, we were looking in Smoky Mountains and Florida, and we're like, whichever market or seller like accept our offer first, that's where we're investing. We ended up making an off-market deal in the Smoky Mountains, and that's where we got the first property in the vacation rental market. That's how we got in. Did I know anything at all about investing in short-term rentals? No, but along the way, we're like, this is the stage we're at. Now it's time to learn this. So if we're gonna do the investing in short-term rental, then we started exploring those markets, learning about those markets. When we got the property, it was how do you figure out, do you gonna self-manage or are you gonna offer a property management company? And then we did more research, we asked questions, and then made a decision how we're gonna do that. Enjoy that model and switch to getting more short-term rentals. But again, as the market switch and not every deal works as a short-term rental, some deals just work. If it works as a long-term rental, do it. If it works as a mid-term rental, do it. So the strategy kind of pivot. So now I do more of a long-term rental thing because I went through the ups and downs of short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, realized that in my preference, I love that consistent monthly cash flow. If I sign a lease for 12 months, that's it.
Yeah.
Just set it and leave it. And then you realize with the short-term rental, depending on where you're at, the income is very inconsistent and it's more work, it's a higher turnover. Did I know that at the beginning? Yes. But I
Mm.
went through it and realized that this is just not for me. So
Yeah.
now I mainly focus on the long-term rental side as it relates to investing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and there's nothing wrong with you've taken massive action, you're going out and doing it, right? And then you're learning as you go with every
Yeah.
deal, and that's how it works. That's been our experience as well.
Mm.
On the deals you're buying now, are those mostly creative finance deals?
Oh, yes, which is crazy because then I started real estate buying properties the traditional way, and which is using the hard money loan and then switching to the DSCR loan. And after I learned about creative financing through Pace Morby, I was like, wait, there's a whole world with creative financing. Like you would hear about things, but then you was like, yeah, it's another strategy.
Right.
But the moment I learned about that strategy, I learned about it when, let's say, 2022. And
Mhm.
every property I've bought up to now, it's using creative financing.
It's super powerful.
Oh, it's
Uh,
so
Low entry fees. So for anyone listening who is not as familiar with creative financing, it's a way to purchase real estate basically without the banks.
uh-huh.
And it's a very powerful way to leverage your capital. And I was just talking to a buddy earlier about this, how you can buy multiple assets with the same amount of money as it might take to buy just a couple
Yeah,
with a conventional loan, with where
yeah.
rates are at currently and the amount of the down payment you got to put down on a typical investment loan of 20% versus a
Mhm.
lot of creative deals are 10%, sometimes less. Sometimes there's creative deals that are turnkey, they're floating around at no entry or 5% because they couldn't sell them.
They couldn't
And
sell them.
and if you're in these communities, you can tap into those opportunities.
And it's crazy because then I never thought this was possible. We're getting homes using creative financing, not to mention those same entry fees that you talk about, which is, let's say, if you're buying a property subject to, and that you need to pay the salary, you need to pay the agent, you need to pay the wholesaler. Let's say that is $30,000, $40,000. Then what I do is go find a private money lender to loan me that $30,000 to $40,000 for a certain time and acquire that property. So all these are skills that I've learned along the way. And because I've invested in masterminds about learning how to do these things, I'm able to grow my portfolio to buy properties using creative financing, plus to use private money lenders to bridge that gap. And that's where you hear about zero out of pocket. It is possible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Leveraging other people's money,
Mhm.
leveraging creative deals, it's a superpower.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that a little more because we're in a community together where we've learned to raise private capital and people are doing
Right.
that actively. And really, in all the communities, once you're in the real estate investing space, you realize that private money lending and transactional funding, it's how the business operates.
Yeah.
Flippers use it, buy and hold investors. You've really set yourself apart as a capital raiser and you've built this awesome brand and business around raising capital for other people's deals. So tell me a little bit more about that and what made you want to go in that direction and what that's been like.
Oh man, what really made me want to go into that was I didn't go out there and look for it. What was happening was when you learn about raising private money, you're doing the steps, you're doing everything. But I would get people who would be like, I want to invest with you, Kalisha, but guess what? I didn't have a deal for them to invest in. So I would just reach out to my inner circle and say, hey, I have this lender. They want to invest $50,000. What do you got? And then when I realized that, okay, this could be a thing where if I am constantly focused on raising capital, I can connect my network with those lenders. And then that's how me raising capital for other people started. When I even started doing it as well, I realized that I was taught that I'm just connecting the private money lender with the investor, and that's it. So if Brayton, you come to me, you're like, Kalisha, I need a private money lender. I'm going to say, hey, Brayton, here's my private money lender. I realized that I have a relationship with that private money lender. I want to make sure if I connect you with them, they're in good hands. They're good throughout the entire process. They're having a great experience. So I found myself fully involved in that transaction. The moment they lend you the money until they get it back. And I was like, this is really a service that I'm offering. And then from that blossom into me raising capital for other people and growing my business, figuring out how do I vet a borrower if I've never worked with them before, if they're not in my network, how do I make sure that this lender's money is protected and I'm able to vet the deal and understand the deal because what they invest in is solid. So as I keep growing, I keep improving my business, but that's literally how I got started into raising capital for other people. And it's been amazing, a headache, a lot of work, but
Yeah.
like that's how I got better at raising capital as well.
That's awesome. And it's a service that is needed because everyone's at a different place in their investing career and the value you're bringing by helping make that connection, helping raise the
Yeah.
capital, manage on both sides, vetting deals, vetting borrowers. It's really awesome.
No
And you
finance
and you
background.
yeah, and enables you to build an active income within your real estate investing business
Yep.
and which I think is also really important because we leave our like you left your corporate job, I have other businesses and I'm used to that consistent income. And with rentals, it's not guaranteed, but ebbs and flows. And we learned that pretty quick too after
What?
getting some rentals. We were like, our first plan was let's go buy 20 short-term rentals. We'll go full time.
Yeah.
Maybe at 10 we'll do it. Now that's not the plan at all. Like we'll buy assets to offset our taxes. We'll build active income within real estate, build some
Okay.
businesses we enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, like
It's
for us, it was a similar thing when we bought our first creative deal out in the Smoky Mountains. It was a
Mhm.
cabin. And when I was going to close on that deal, the transaction coordinator asked me, would you like to assign this or are you going to buy and hold? And that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, okay, maybe I should assign some of these to build some active income, which is
Right.
wholesaling creative deals. And that's how our wholesale business started.
It's crazy that you mentioned that too with the whole active income thing is that people always ask, should I quit my job? And I was like, if you can do real estate and keep your job, do it because you need that active income, especially if you want to focus on buying rentals. Like a lot of the time, your rentals might not give you $1,000 consistent income cash flow each month. So having that active income is crucial because you need that active income so you can reinvest into the business. Like one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that if you don't have that income, that's when, for example, I had an HVAC went out on one of my properties
Mm.
and it cost 6 or 7 grand. And I was like, wait, where's that income coming from
Yeah.
to offset that? So it's like your cash flow is not enough in a couple of months to pay for something like that. So having that active income, and when you get active income, making sure that your family is taken care of, your bills are taken care of, but you also have money, reinvest in acquiring more rentals or take care of the existing rentals that you currently have.
Yeah. And honestly, learning to underwrite really conservatively. And when you're launching a new property, like our approach is having 3 months of reserves, underwriting very conservatively. So when we launch a property and then being very conscious of what type of design and renovation does this property really qualify for? Like, is putting 150 grand into this property really going to
It-
have the return? Being conscious of that all on the front end and like literally go over your spreadsheets over and over again and set yourself up for success with every rental. Otherwise, when you hit the rainy season or the tree that falls on the roof or whatever happens, you don't want to get caught with
Yeah.
20 rentals and all of a sudden 3 of them have major repairs needed. You don't have any money to pay
And
for it.
exactly. And then it's crazy too, because even with people who think about, oh, I can use my credit card. But what you got to understand, sometimes some of the properties, like the expenses, you cannot use a credit card. So, for example, if you have your monthly mortgage payment, I don't think there is a loan service in our mortgage company that accepts credit card. A lot of them want a debit card. So you got to make sure that you have that money in your bank account to cover those mortgage payments as well, because it's worth it. It's super worth it because it's a sacrifice that you make because you want to build long-term wealth. It's really holding on to properties and you're going to see the benefit in 5 to 10 years. But I've learned that you have to be able to accept that sacrifice that you have to make, knowing that this is going to pay off. Don't be like, I'm going to wait until I have this amount of money saved up, or I'm going to wait until next year when the market changes. No, buy to hold it. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be perfect, but it also helps you to become a better investor. Like knowing when do you pivot, knowing how to manage tenants, knowing how to manage money, manage other people's money, manage your cash flow. You learn so much along the way. So you just make a decision that I'm in this for the long run and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to where I want to go to.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to lending. And honestly, my advice for anyone, and I think we're in like 5 communities now, and depending on what community is, they're all a little different. But a lot of people come in like us. We were pretty decent income earners, both had good careers, and we want to go renovate and build these beautiful short-term rentals and go spend all our money and invest it in these properties. And a lot of people come from that place. But if I were to give myself a trick, I'd probably recommend to myself to go and lend and partner with someone,
Yeah.
learn from them, an experienced operator who's
Yes.
not just done a couple, but like really
Mhm.
knows what they're doing with their underwriting, and just say, hey, I just really want to learn and I'm willing to invest my capital, and set up a partnership structure and go out and do your first couple with that person. And then go off. If you really want to do your own after that, you can.
Yeah.
And
Oh, man.
way, you
And the
know?
safe way, because I have lenders who they want to grow their portfolio. Yes, some of them want to learn. They just want tax write-offs. So they come in with the capital and we go in and as a partnership and we structure it where they own a certain percentage of equity in the house. So we do a new LLC and an operating agreement. We state out who's responsible for what and what they get in return. And person just invest their money and they get a piece of the cash flow until we build up our well, actually, we build up our reserves first and then we split the cash flow and
Yep.
then we'll give them tax write-off as well. So it really depends too. If you have the capital, what is your goal? Do you want to lend? Do you want to be completely
Right.
passive? So
Right.
you really have to know that and then find the right operator who can help you to achieve that goal as well.
Yeah. It's a team sport.
Mhm.
Going out and buying 10 properties because you have the tax need, you're going to find yourself probably not purchasing, and you're going to probably lose some money.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to learn how to manage those and if deal with management. Even having management in place, that doesn't mean it's completely passive.
Massive.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
So
It's
lending is the ultimate. Being the bank, I think, is the
Being
ultimate.
being the bank, I tell myself now, like, I can't wait till I become the bank. Like, I've explored dealing with tenants, I've explored investing, I've explored the lending, and I think I would rather be on the lending side
Yeah, me too.
all day.
It's the ultimate.
It's
It's the most passive. You could do it into retirement.
yeah.
You can do it from home. You could do it from Hawaii,
Ugh,
Bali, wherever you are in the world.
yeah. Just
It's
find your
really
operators.
yourself well and
Mhm.
have a really good position.
Listen, like I tell myself that's where I want to be. And that's where the idea of creating a whole fund came into place. Because if I'm doing what I'm doing now, I can continue to raise capital and now controlling the funds and lending. Because then that way I already have operators who I know they're really good operators. So I can lend to them because I know that it's going to be safe. I can get my money back. Or will things go wrong? Of course, they always do. But at least I know I'm partnering with a good operator that can, when things happen, they know how to pivot, they communicate and all that stuff. But I think lending is definitely the way to go in real estate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people with multiple decades of experience, a lot of them, that's their goal, is to end up being the lender.
Hmm.
They're doing all the strategies, fix and flipping, and they're doing all that. But
Yeah.
that seems the common denominator with most, or at least a part of the plan.
A part of
I
the
think
plan.
I think, you know?
Yes, definitely. That it's and I've seen other investors as well who they experience the fix and flip, they experience the buy and hold, and they've sold a lot of their properties just to transition into lending because they're like, I'm done dealing with contractors. It's not worth it for me to wait 6 to 12 months to make X amount of money. I can lend this multiple times without dealing with headache. I may not make as much as I would, but it's less headache. It's peace of mind. And a lot of persons would rather do that to be completely passive, make that money, and maybe go do something else that they love.
100%. And it doesn't require a big team, managing a bunch of people,
Mm-mm.
all the marketing and overhead and less risk. It's super powerful.
Okay.
So you have a school community and you've been inspiring and mentoring others, which I think is awesome because it helps you level up, but then it also helps bring people up to your level, which is
Yeah.
super cool. So how's that been going?
It's been going amazing, which I think I've learned so much starting the school community, meaning I've had persons within my circle, Kalisha, you need to start your own community, all that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not an expert. I don't know what value I'm going to bring. And this took me like 2 months with people in my ears, coaches and everything, like, do your own thing. I was like, no. And it's amazing how when I started, the amount of people were so interested in joining. And I was like, wow. Cause a lot of times people want to pick your brain on raising capital. So I was like, you know what? Instead of me doing these one on one, these 15-minute calls, I still do it where I would do 15-minute calls back to back and people would need help. And I try to answer as much as I can on Facebook. I
Yeah.
really put them in one place and then I dedicate time, like a couple hours out of my week. And I just go on a Zoom and it's an opportunity for people to come and ask me questions. That way it's recorded. That way another person will benefit from those questions as well. Because a lot of times, like you hear raising capital, there are certain questions you're not even sure what to ask in the first place. But someone else might ask that question that you can benefit from by being on that Zoom and me explaining something, you may still be unclear. And it's an opportunity to say, Kalisha, can you expound? I'm not understanding. And I'm there because I'm committing that time. And the community, I think we started in May and we're in like August, September now, and we're at 550 members. No paid ads, no nothing like that. It's just simply word of mouth and inviting people to come in. And then from there, people saw the value and was like, okay, do you offer one-on-ones? I was like, I do, but they're like consultations,
Yeah.
which I had before. But then it started happening. And then with being a part of Skool, you also get access to Alex Hormozy, which he does school games and showing you how to grow your online business. So I've learned from him in knowing that, okay, you need to go do a one-on-one, like a mentorship or a monthly thing. And this is how you will structure it. And these are the things that you can offer. From learning that, I decided to offer more one-on-ones, which that is now called Elite Capital Raisers, which is really breaking things down to the T for persons who are serious about raising capital for other people. I think there they get access to like my systems, my tools, all those things that is super crucial when dealing with other people's money. So that has been phenomenal as well.
It's incredible. And it's an amazing resource for people because why go reinvent the wheel when someone can help lift you up?
Yeah. Hand holding, telling you step by step what to do, having that accountability as well to make sure that you get to where you want to get to. And because some people like Kalisha, like life is happening. I was like, yeah, I understand life can be life and sometimes I'm human too. But to have that person kick your butt and be like, okay, you need to stop, get out of your hole, pick back up where you left off, keep pushing, checking in. That's exactly what we're doing and the one-on-ones as well.
Yeah. And you can help support by cloning yourself through filming everything, recording everything. You're able to help way more people.
Yeah.
Because if you were just doing one on ones with everyone, 500 people, you would not have time for that. You have other
Yes.
stuff going on. So it's cool. You can impact a larger group of people and keep it under one format, which is
Mhm.
super cool. So I've just been watching what you've been up to and it's super inspiring. I see the work ethic. So what kind of other plans do you have? Anything else cooking in the next couple years? What do
Man,
you want to do?
that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think where I see myself is I would love to get into the lending space. I'm realizing that my superpower is teaching and breaking things down to people. So I'm excited to see where that will take me the more I keep doing it and getting better at it. I also realize I love talking in stages and I love doing interviews
Uh,
because there's a lot of person teaching the different strategies as well. And everyone teaching method is so different. So you can have 10 people teaching the same thing, but those 10 people are going to attract 10 different audiences based on how they teach, how their audience will relate to people.
sure.
When I just started investing, there was a lot of things that I wish people would break down nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Don't give me surface level information. If you're late with a private money lending payment, what happens? If this
Mm,
strategy is not working, what do you do? How do you know when to pivot from one strategy to the next? Because like if I ever got into teaching, or explaining something to someone, I want to get down to the nitty gritty because it's always that one thing that you're not telling persons would hold
yeah.
them back. And I was like,
100%.
that's all I want to do.
Yeah. How do you actually do this?
Yeah.
How do you
It,
record a lean? There's like details that are left out of a lot of stuff,
there are a
and those
lot
are
of,
important details.
and there, as you said, that there are really important details. Like, for example, we hear about the documents that you need to protect a private money lender. Do you know how those documents should look? Do you know what questions to ask an attorney or the title company if it's not done? Do you know what happens if you're going to be late with a loan? What do you do? Do you know how to explain what does that document mean to someone who has never lent money before? And it's not using the real estate terms, but breaking it down where a baby understands.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I've realized I've used promissory note and mortgage to new lenders, and they're like, "What is that?" So I
Yes.
always have to go back and be like, "Okay." And this is how I become better as well. Because then what I start doing is using the bank as an example to explaining
Mm,
foreclosure, explaining mortgage document, where I would say, do you know if you go to a bank and you go to a bank to get a home loan, correct? They're like, yes. You sign a few documents agreeing that the bank is going to give you a loan. You're putting 5% down and you have 30 years and your monthly mortgage is going to be this. They're like, yes. Have you ever seen where if someone is late with their payment, the bank is going to give you a notice, right? They're like, yes. And then if you don't make that payment, the bank is going to foreclose, right? Yes. That's exactly what you're doing if you're lending me money. So I'm like, yes. So in
yeah.
this case, you are the bank. And if I don't pay you back by a certain time, you have certain documents to come in and take the property back from me.
Yeah. I love that you use that as a reference because it's true. You're not reinventing the wheel. Banks and this is stuff's been around for a long
A
time,
long
and it's
time.
practiced at a high level by banks, right? And
Hmm.
so, remember when we went in and we got a HELOC on a property,
Yeah.
and it was after we had joined a private money lending community and had learned the basics of private money lending and the documents and all that. And when we got our HELOC, it was like sign this, sign that. It was a promissory note, insurance, all this. It was exactly how we were taught to do it. And it was cool to reverse engineer it that way and see the title company doing it
So
with the lender in that
yeah.
case.
Yeah. And that's how, as you said, we're not reinventing the wheel. Is as you go through the process, what are some things that you have learned along the way? These things, either way, you're not going to know everything, but these are some questions that you need to ask. These are some things that you need to look out for. And you find that people really need those details.
So you guys got to go join Kalisha's community. So where can people follow you? Where can they join? She has a free community, you guys. So you got to go and just join it.
Yeah. If you reach out to me on Instagram, Kalisha Carter, KELEISHACARTER. If you reach out to me on Instagram, just DM me the word Skool and you'll get a link. Or if you go on my website as well, which is also my full name, you will see direct link of how to join Skool. And if you go on my Instagram bio, it will take you, there will be a button as well to be like, join the free Skool community. If you're like, yeah, scrap the free Skool, I want direct access to you. All those platforms that I mentioned as well also have the link that gives you access to the paid group as well.
Awesome, you guys. So yeah, definitely go do that. That's a massive opportunity. You got to take advantage.
Mhm.
If you got any value from this video, please can subscribe. Please
Yeah.
give Kalisha and I both a follow.
Yeah.
And we'll have to have her on here maybe in a year or so and see what she's up to. It sounds like she's always got something new on simmer.
I love it. No, thanks for having me. And this has been amazing to see us like started out in the same community like 2 years, a year and a half ago, and just to see how much we have both grown and we were able to like bounce ideas off each other, help each other along the way, and just to see us now. That's what community does, guys. That's what investing in the different masterminds, going to conferences, building those relationships so you can grow with people, this is what it's about. So I'm so happy to have done this and I can't wait to be back.
100%. So stoked you came on, Cleisha. Super proud of you and all your success, and can't wait
Thank
to
you.
see where we're going to be in the next 5 or 10 years. And yeah, if you guys get anything from this, go join communities. It's priceless. You
Yeah,
can't put a dollar on the value of joining communities.
facts.
Thanks so much, Kalisha.
Thanks for having
Okay.
me.
We'll see you on the next one.